Ben Hunt set to sign a one-year extension with St George Illawarra Dragons. This is through the Daily Telegraph. So over the next fortnight, Dragons coach Shane Flanagan will meet with the halfback Ben Hunt to finalise a new contract for 2026. He's currently played 324 NRL games for Brisbane and St George Illawarra since debuting in 2009. So a one-year extension. He's contracted to the end of next year, I believe.
Yeah.
So that would take him out to...
Don't you think that's just nuts? 360 turnaround, given that I was one of those journalists hot on his tail, chasing him going back to Brisbane. He wanted out. The Dragons stuck to their guns with it and, held him to the contract. And, well, you know what? It has to say something about Shane Flanagan.
Oh, of course. Of course, speaking of which, he joined Mornings with Matty White, and you can catch the full chat on the Mornings with Matty White podcast is the way to do that. He also spoke on Zach Lomax and how he was requested a release from the Dragons, and obviously we know how that's all played out so far.
Zach asked for a release numerous times, not just this year. He asked for a release last year, and, the club's been pretty strong in their, decision that we weren't going to let Zach go this year, and he wasn't happy about where I, picked him and playing on the wing. And, it's his decision, his and his management, from relentless times asking for a release. And, eventually the club said, look, we think it is best that we part ways. But, definitely Zach was really positive that he wanted to stay at the club this year, play well, help the club get to where they need to be. And, he's playing Origin now, so it's a good thing. And, he hasn't missed a beat.
Have we ever seen that before, Michelle, where a player has appeared to be disgruntled, want to get a release and get out of there, and then from that moment play the best football they've ever played in their life?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Nothing sort of comes to mind. I was actually just thinking about the likes of James Schiller, who's obviously been playing a bit of New South Wales Cup. But look, you'd be insane to be Ricky Stewart, Shane Flanagan, to be offloading players in this situation, letting them go early, purely and simply over injuries. Like you really would be kicking yourself if something happened and you couldn't, didn't have a replacement. And look, are you ever going to see a player that won't put in? Seriously?
But
it's
to
on
see
them,
a player,
isn't it?
But to see the way he's just ascended
in another position too.
Oh, crazy! And it's validated everything Shane Flanagan has done. Speaking of which, he spoke about missing out on Addin Fanua-Blake and how he's still recruiting.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we need. The Addin Fanua-Blake one. Unfortunately, we missed out on him. We went to the Sharks, and that hurt. Losing one to them. So, we'll be out in the market. We definitely need one more big bopper. I think our forward pack's done a really good job this year, but we're probably one short.
He handled that well, didn't he? They've done a good job this year, but we are one short. I would just wonder whether the hot topic in the front row has been obviously all the talk around Stefano at the West Tigers. Mm-hmm. He clearly wants to fill that void of a big bopper front rower. Stefano would have to be right in the mix now, wouldn't he?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Look, I find that disappointing. I really do. I don't know what goes on at the Tigers, honestly. Some of those younger guys that I've been critical of, really starting to aim up. And you want to hope that they stop, they do something. It's very frustrating to watch Benji and the Tigers starting well again.
Yeah.
What happens?
Most rugby
league players... We can joke
players,
about island time and all that sort of stuff, but in the fair income department, this is so frustrating for Tiger supporters.
Michelle, most rugby league players come from very humble upbringings, not from a lot of money, etc. And if the same applies to Stefano, I don't know if it does or it doesn't, but if it does, just imagine going to bed at night and going, I have got an opportunity to sign a 5-year deal for $4 million. Mm-hmm. Like, how I find it really hard that a young fellow who's really just come onto the scene, and we see...
He's been a player in the up-and-coming player, though. He's been earmarked for quite some time.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that, but the hierarchy of front rowers can quickly change. We've seen that many front rowers burst onto the scene and then disappear. How hard would that be to just resist not immediately signing a 5-year deal for $4 million?
Especially, as you say, background. Humble beginnings.
Well, if that's the case...
How much he could feed his family. Yeah. Oh, look, he is a very humble kid. Yep. I'll give him that. I think people would be in his ear. Yeah.
Jeez, it must be hard.
Hey, what about going back to filling, some of the gap that's left there at the Dragons?
Yep.
not that I have any information relating to this, but Josh Schuster, do you see him as a future Dragon?
Well, it just depends on. I would easily be able to answer that. So that's $800,000 a year, by the way, that Stefano's been offered.
I doubt you'll see Josh Schuster get 800.
Oh, no chance.
No.
No chance.
Those days are gone at the moment.
But I don't know what his relationship with Shane. Obviously, Shane Flanagan was at Manly. So him going to St George Illawarra, much would be dependent on what Flano thinks of him.
And the other part of that is, which I've spoken direct to Siebes, he's not. There was a lot of stuff in the media about him being a lazy trainer and not putting in. That Siebes said that's far from the truth.
Is that right?
Big trainer, big efforts, just had some off-field issues.
Oh, well, Flano would recognise that too. Maybe, I don't know. I do not know. I personally think the best thing for him, though, would just be to get out of the limelight, go and conquer the Super League. Speaking of which, David Armstrong, he's on the verge of a backflip despite agreeing to a near deal only with the Knights last week. So this is through Michael Carianis and Brent Reid through the Daily Telegraph. It's understood that Armstrong has met with Newcastle officials and told them he wants out of the 2-year contract. So this has only just been agreed to. Lee Leopards, that's Adrian Lamb's team.
Adrian Lamb's side, yep.
They've weighed in with a richer 3-year deal to entice Armstrong to join the club in 2025. Now, you've got your nephew over there, Adam Kieran.
Adam Kieran,
He's just won the Challenge Cup.
Didn't play.
Oh, he didn't play?
No, similar situation to the Reece Walsh, Joseph Swalihi tackle.
Oh.
But he was stationary. It was a little bit different. So in the week before, in the lead up, he got 3 weeks. It was awful. I'm not going to deny it. And Adam, it hit him like really hard. And again, there's one of those situations where, okay, we can get out the violin, but he's away from his family. It really shook him. He was really quite upset. First time I've ever called an opposition coach to go and check on him because we knew he was that bad. Called Sammy Burgess and said, would you mind, just checking in on him? Because the coach threw him under the bus.
Wow.
Straight up. Apologised later, some days later.
What did he do by throwing him under the bus, you mean?
Said he was guilty. He's had problems. This is all live on the coverage. Pete's, whatever his name is, said, I'm disappointed with Adam and that. He's been, basically he's had priors, is what he said. The people on the coverage were a little bit like, what's going on here? You're throwing your own player under the bus. And then 24 hours later, he actually reviewed the footage and went, whoa, I actually got this wrong and we might go to the judiciary. Like we might actually fight this. That was really tough. But well done to Wigan, to what a Luke Thompson, just awesome side.
He needed a bit of luck too, Luke Thompson. He didn't have the luck out here that he would have hoped for.
Yeah, but going back, injuries. But going back to what you were talking about, I'm really intrigued. This kid has an NRL future in place, David Armstrong. Yep. And what will he achieve by going back to the Super League? I mean, it's clearly not as as great as as elite as the NRL. From a player's perspective, what's the thought process here, Joel?
So a lot of people have been saying, why the bloody hell would he do it? And
one of those.
Yeah, well, the only explanation I could probably offer is, so he is playing first grade at the moment, but obviously Kalen Ponga's coming back, and he would also know that the young kid who played on the weekend, Fletcher Sharp, has always been in front of the queue to him. He was just injured at the time. So in reality, he's the third choice. Now, the reason I think that he would be entertaining this is it might be his lotto ticket where he's only young and...
He goes over there and carves up?
Well, as you'd probably know with Adam, you can't just go to the Super League.
No.
If you have no heritage of European descent, you can't just turn up and play, right? Work permits and all those sorts of things. So right now, because he's played recent NRL, he's probably qualifies right now to go. If he doesn't go right now, and if he finds himself stuck in reserve grade for a period of time, not playing first grade, he may never get another opportunity to ever go to the Super League. So maybe the management said to him, okay, Dave, we can get you there right now on big money. It's your chance to cash in now. Also, it's you're still only going to be young in 3 years' time. You can earn some big dollars at Lee, and you've still got the chance to always come back to Australia. You may not always have the chance to go to the Super League. So I don't know this is fact. But
and that's why I'm asking you as a footballer, where would you be going with this? Because my immediate thought process was, okay, if I'm going to be stuck in reserve grade or New South Wales Cup, there's 16 other teams in the competition. Surely my manager's shopping me around for something else to stay in the NRL.
Yes.
But I see your argument in terms of getting over there and being able to be cashed up pretty quickly, long term, secure future.
And the other thing is too, like his style of play. So if you think about some of the players who have gone over there and killed it, where they didn't necessarily kill it here, not on a consistent basis. Matt Duffy, Bevan French, Jay Field, he would kill it. David Armstrong would be straight away in a very quick period of time in the mix for their Man of Steel award.
Yeah.
So that, I can understand why he would be at least exploring this, particularly now that Fletcher Sharp has come back, played quite well in first grade. I can understand that. But anyway, the Cheese. So the Cheese, we're talking about Brandon Smith. He's spoken out about why and how he missed the meeting that caused him to be served a breach notice from the Roosters.
Obviously, I got breached for being late and, or not late, but missing the meeting. And yeah, it was just a complete and utter, I guess, misunderstanding, or like, done by me, first of all. I went out for a coffee with my missus. She doesn't like when I take my phone out because I ignore her, so I left my phone at home. And then when I got home, the reason it's my fault is because you check the schedule before you get to sleep. I was starting to think I was going to get sacked myself, so all that. And then Trent was disappointed because it's quite a rookie mistake and not much really come of it. And the sad thing is, like, it's bad to say, but if I had gone out that night with the boys, I would have known that training was on because they would have been talking about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I stayed home and tried to be a good boy.
What did you learn out of that? Go out with the boys.
Oh, yeah. What do you think?
Do you ignore your missus when you're out and about with your phone?
I just...
You're not buying it, I can tell.
The two things that you've missed training and not knowing about it. So there's the first thing. And then to do that and then to also not have your phone, which also is highly unlikely for youngsters these days going out. So two things have had to happen here. A, he's forgotten about training or not planned for it. And B, he's turned up with his missus, as he likes to call it, her, and not had his phone with him. I don't know. I don't know.
I'll tell you why I'm off the cheese for this one. And this is, again, not bruising, but having Adam Kieran, being a Rooster, played there.
Yep.
I obviously know very well how Trent Robinson operates, and I know how big that mid-season review is, and that's drummed into those boys from, a long time out.
So are you not buying the story?
No, yeah, look, he might have forgotten. But that's not the type of thing that you'd forget. Like, if you've ever been under Trent Robinson, you kind of know what's happening next and where you're at, and you're even drilled to be looking and being prepared, and that's just how he runs a club.
Yeah,
it's tight ship.
And what he has said may be 100% true. It's just if my own children said, "Hey, Dad, I forgot about this halfway review meeting," and which the chances of that happening are remote, and then the second one is the chances of a young person going out anywhere without their phone is also remote. For those two things to happen...
It's almost like they don't have a leg.
Yeah, I just think for those two things to happen, but we'll never know. That was on the bye round with James Graham. He's very good at that, James. He's very good at that, James. So there you go. Let us know what you think. 1300 01 1170 is the way to have your say, or text 0457 736 736. Paul and Greg standing by, so we'll take some calls after this on the run home with Joel and the Bish.